Hello, this is Soundout here, back on our Transformers review. Today we're taking a look at the Transformers Age of Extinction Voyager class Grimlock. Alright, so here we have the second Voyager in the Transformers Age of Extinction line, and currently the only one I'm planning to get from the first wave, and that is Grimlock. Grimlock is the leader of the Dinobots, and he comes in a box because he's a Voyager, and he's also packaged in robot mode, which a lot of reviewers have started in robot mode, so I'm starting Dino mode to be different. Okay? Really nice packaging design, by the way. I quite like it. I like the artwork. He is number 2. The other is Evasion Mode Optimus Prime, which is an Optimus Prime, movie Optimus Prime that turns into the G1 truck, which is cool. So that's enough of the packaging. Here's Grimlock. Now Grimlock is coming out in several scales, most notably the Voyager and the Leader. Now, when it comes to the Leader class version, it's $45, while the Voyager is $25. The Leader class version is much larger. I believe has maybe lights and sounds. I don't think so though. I don't think Leaders are doing that anymore. But it has a lot of chrome on it, and the dinosaur mode looks very awkward to me, and I didn't quite like it. This one's not perfect either, but it's better. Robot modes are kind of the same. I ended up going for the cheaper alternative of Grimlock overall, since I do like this dinosaur mode better, which is why I'm starting with it. So anyways, as you can see, he is a T-Rex. Tyrannosaurus Rex, most common dinosaur people know of, made famous by Jurassic Park and all that jazz. He's really cool looking. The tail section is the only complaint I really have with this whole thing, is it just kind of comes up to a point, which it doesn't really look like a dinosaur tail. It just looks like a couple feet stuck at the back, which is unfortunate. But overall, a nice, convincing T-Rex. He's got a big old head with this little chomping gimmick that I quite enjoy, because it makes a click sound when it closes. That's just cool. And he is quite articulated for being a Dinobot. You can open his mouth larger. Unfortunately, it doesn't start closed, so you can't close his mouth at any point. His ears things are articulated, which is a little weird, but whatever. You got ball-jointed arms here, which work quite well. You got outward leg movement, 360 leg movement, forward knee movement, and a few other joints to play around with to get him to lock into place. So overall, a pretty playable T-Rex, at the same time as being an addicting gimmick. I also love how many teeth he has. That being said, there isn't really too much for the T-Rex mode. He is less articulated than Scorn, who is a deluxe class figure that is $15. So there is that. Now there's one other thing. He does have this mace weapon for his robot mode that is officially stated to clip onto his tail like this. You line up the little grooves, and you wedge it on here. And now he's just longer and back heavy. And it doesn't look more like a tail, it makes him look stupid. It's the reason I don't like the Leader Grimlock, because his body's too long. So that being said, personally, when I want the mace to be held by Grimlock in Dino mode, I just have him eat it, because that works better. With that being said, let's transform Grimlock. Now, while he seems a little small for a Voyager, his transformation does make him quite large. To start off, we want to begin by opening these panels and moving them back. Then we're going to take the legs here, which will become the arms in robot mode. Clever Hasbro. Take the legs from underneath the body, bring them around, and now we can quite start plugging things in. These panels just plug in like that. Fold out his feet here. This torso piece comes down in place, like that. You bring his head up. These parts here, you want to fold his arms like this, turn his wrists, and tab them into place. We'll get into why that's a problem later. Do that with both arms. Come around here, unpeg this piece here, and now we get to the complicated part. This whole section lifts up, and you got to line this up perfectly, so that when you split this piece can come through on this little tab system here. And it's really tricky to line up, and I'm sorry I can't show it on camera better. But once you get it through, you're good to go. This comes up, these click into place, this comes back and down. Thought there was a better tab system for that. There isn't. It just, oh yeah, it just kind of rests there. Brings the shoulders in place like that. Fold up the little ear things, turn his head around, and I got a quite tall Grimlock in robot mode. So here we have the quite tall and quite impressive Voyager class Grimlock in robot mode. Now I quite like the way this guy looks. He has got a great robot mode design. I love the split T-Rex head over his shoulders. It gives him that shoulder pad look that I did like with Slug. It's just I always felt the Triceratops head was backwards. But this, you do have his dino head opened up and his robot head exposed, even though it doesn't quite work exactly like that. It still works. You get quite a bit of nice detail here. He follows that knight look very well. He is very tall and very impressive. He expands like nobody's business. With his legs being the body of the T-Rex mode, it worked quite well. Love these giant dino cuffs that are around his wrists. He just looks really nice, and I do like it, and I don't like the chrome that's on the leader. Just saying. On the back here, you can see that he has a flap that has a gimmick attached to it. There's really nothing you can do about that because I went for that gimmick. It doesn't really intrude on the figure because it's on the back and just becomes more armor flap things. So much like Slug, you end up with armor flaps. And then you got that back piece that just kind of sits there. But other than that, everything else is well proportioned. It does a lot better. I love these Dinobots because most of the movie toys are shell form or cars, and these don't shell form. They actually transform, which is really nice. Articulation-wise, he has a ball joint neck, kind of. I lie. It's actually not ball joint. It's a swivel rotation with forward and back movement, so that's cool. You got outward shoulder movement, 360 shoulders because the shoulder pads actually get out of the way. You got a bicep swivel, an elbow bend that causes him to have that palm up syndrome because the legs peg in here, but you can have a wrist joint. You have the option of a wrist joint, basically. Posing him like that, I honestly like doing. It's just not pegged in. So officially, he's got palm up syndrome. No waist strength because of the gimmick, or outward leg movement, forward leg movement, thigh rotation, a knee bend that's ratcheted. It's a very quiet ratchet, but it's ratcheted. And his foot doesn't peg, so you can do kind of weird things there. But that being said, he is possible to get into several awesome poses on his own or with the awesome battle mace that is included that I showed in Dino mode. Now, my only complaint with this battle mace is it doesn't seem like this is a thing a person or a dinosaur robot would be wielding with one hand. I kind of wish there was another handle or something so you could hold it with two hands. But it is quite awesome, and I think it does do the job of giant mace hammer. It gives that Ultra Magnus kind of look too, which is pretty neat. And again, unpegging the dino parts is the best way to go. But with a pose like that you can barely see, he's about to swing that thing and crush something, which is just plain cool. Overall, Voyager class Grimlock is pretty neat, and for $25 retail, I can't complain. He's pretty freaking cool. The leader class Grimlock is going to be larger and has a few things in robot mode that does make it better, but I think as a complete package, me personally, I like the Voyager class Grimlock. Now, there's nothing wrong with you if you like the leader class version, and there's nothing wrong with you if you don't like the Voyager class. I just like the Voyager class, and I prefer it over the leader. And that being said, being a Grimlock, he needs to be the king and larger than the other Dinobots. And does he accomplish that? Well, because of his giant size, he accomplishes it quite well. He towers over the other Dinobots, and until Slog comes out, no one's going to get near his height. So overall, quite a great little trio of figures for the first wave. We get two more in Wave 2, which would be Strafe and Slash. And once I get those, I will review them. So overall, I definitely recommend Voyager Grimlock and Scorn and Slug. And overall, pretty cool. So stay tuned for Wave 2 stuff. And be sure to check out HeroTaku.com for all your Transformers news and more. Till next time, Sound saying goodbye.